Here we go. The long-awaited reappearance of Scott Roeder, crime scene reconstruction expert. A lot of you have been asking me, Stephen, when are you going to have Scott back on to revisit the Las Vegas aliens case and talk about the new evidence and the pictures and everything that he has? And it's finally here. Scott, thank you so much for coming back on to UAP.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to be here, Stephen. I want to apologize to you. First off, we've been dancing around trying to get the dates together. Just to let you and all your people know, I wasn't dodging you. I've been in Australia for a murder case. And then I had to testify in another case. And then I had 3 back-to-back extra reports due for my day job, which is crime and shooting scene reconstruction. I testify as an expert witness. And we're doing police shooting cases, post-conviction cases, and criminal defense cases. So we've been swamped. And I really just wanted to make time for you and your audience because I love your show. I'm a fan of your show. You have some of the most intelligent listeners out there. And if there's any show I wanted to make time for, it was you.
No, that's awesome. Thanks, buddy. Because it's yeah, just to kind of pick it up from there, because I felt bad, right? I felt bad. People kept asking, when is this going to happen? And then some people started being like, oh, this Scott guy, he's just, saying he has these pictures and evidence and there's nothing. Like, guys, like, we got to get some time. So here he is, right? I told you we were going to do this. And like you said, of no one's fault. Everybody's busy. I appreciate you just making time at all to come on here and do this. So looking forward to diving into all of it, because we're going to kind of pick up a little bit where we left off. We'll catch up a little bit on the Las Vegas case, of course, with the Kenmore family and what they saw in the backyard, and then kind of present some of the new things that you came across. I also want to point out real quick that for anybody who's seen the YouTube video, obviously, as far as if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see it, but I'm wearing, for the first time ever, my special UAP hat. I've never worn this on the show before, but I put it on just for you for today, for this episode.
Nice.
It felt like it was worthy. So that's a little behind the scenes to catch up what's been going on. You did mention some of the other cases. And before we get into the Las Vegas case, I do want to point out, I think it's important to point out what your work is and some of the things that you've worked on. So can you just touch on that real quick? Like some of the stuff outside of the UAP issue that you do work on, you have been working on.
Well, I mean, all of my stuff is outside of the UAP issue, except for this thing I'm kind of dipping my toe into. So I started my company, Evidence Room, in 2001, and we specialize in the forensic reconstruction of homicides, deaths, and other catastrophic injury cases that are dealt with in court, right? So I've worked on death penalty cases, defending people. I've worked on police-involved shooting cases where we're defending the police, or in some cases, we're against the police. I do a lot of post-conviction work. We have actually one of the cases I testified since the last time we spoke was the post-conviction hearing of Christopher Dunn in St. Louis, Missouri, who was convicted of a crime with no evidence against him in 1989, has been in prison for a crime he has been proven to be actually innocent from. And I testified in a case May 21st, I think it was, in St. Louis in the Federal Appeals Court. And we are waiting on the result right now. So hopefully by the time this broadcast airs, I think the judge set the time of July 20th to make his decision. I think all signs is that Mr. Dunn is going to be set free. And those are the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. In addition to that, as part of our forensic reconstruction in animation, I actually coined the phrase forensic animation. And I received a recognition from the Arnold Markle Symposium in New Haven, Connecticut, which is sponsored by the University of New Haven School of Forensic Science, which is a scientific education school for forensic science and a master's and doctorate level degree. And I adjunct there. I also adjunct at Georgetown University and Princeton University in programs called Making an Exoneree, where I'll work with students on developing a visual presentation based on the evidence to get recognition on cases they are trying to put into the media of people that they believe have been wrongfully convicted and wrongfully imprisoned. So those are all the sorts of things we do. Now, I started off working for other firms, I think around 1994. And I started up, one of my first things I ever did was medical reconstructions. So we would reconstruct surgeries that we felt were, or that lawyers would hire us and say, hey, could you reconstruct the surgery to show how the surgeon messed up and led to a permanent deficit or death of the patient. So we did that for a long time. We did car accidents. We did plane crashes, helicopter crashes, drowning cases, all kinds of things. And it was really in 2003 that I started doing expert testimony as it relates to shooting and crime scene reconstruction. So since that time, I've worked on 1,600, and I'm always updating the list. Last time I wrote it down was 1,688, but I've since been hired on another case in Los Angeles, so it's 1,689 and counting death-related cases. And that's what I do on a day-to-day. I have 6 full-time employees that are forensic analysts, law experts, animation experts, medical experts, and we work together as a team to put together a evidence-based visual reconstruction of critical events that really have affected people's lives and are a subject of, very serious court matters. So it's that background that I'm trying to bring into this field, because I've always been a consumer. I've always been a consumer of this genre, right? Just as a casualist. As a matter of fact, my first exposure. This is an interesting story, and I don't mean to be too long-winded, but it's an interesting story. So a good friend of mine, 94 years old, just recently died, Dr. Cyril Weck. He's had, I think, he did 30,000 autopsies over his career. He was good friends with the surgeon that worked on John F. Kennedy at the Parkland Medical Hospital in Dallas, Texas. Wow. He was a captain in the United States Navy. And I wrote a book with him and Dr. Henry Lee and Melvin Tucker and Chief of Police Melvin Tucker and Chief of FBI Van Blaircom, called Officer Involved Deaths. And we were over at his house in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where he was at the time the Allegheny County medical examiner. So if you die in that county of a suspicious death, he would do the autopsy and make an official report as a quasi-governmental capacity. And he did that job for over 50 years. Wow. He also worked on cases like John Benet Ramsey, O.J. Simpson's case, all this, everything. He's worked on everything. Wow. And so when we were there writing that book and doing the final copy edit on the book, we had kind of a wrap party where it was me and Van and Mel and Dr. Lee and Cyril. And we're all sitting out in the garden, and everybody had their, if you got them, you smoke them if you got them, right? So Dr. Lee is making his own custom herbal tea bag and making some tea. Dr. Weck had a nice glass of wine. Mel, I think, had a nice glass of scotch, whatever. And we're sitting around just chilling, right? Just really happy about what. And then Dr. Weck, after a glass of wine or two, he said to me, he's like, I sat in on an autopsy of an alien.
Really?
At Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in 1971. And it didn't register with me at the time. I'm like, he's pulling my leg. Back at this time, I think we wrote this book in, 2010 or whatever. And this never, I thought he was joking. I thought he was just messing around.
And this is the same doctor, real quick. This is the same doctor you're talking about, who just passed away at 94, worked on JFK and John Benet Ramsey and all these different major cases.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I thought he was joking. I never even questioned him about it. And I regret that now that he's passed. And I even had him on my podcast, Crime Scene Time Machine on Spotify. Everybody should go listen to it. It's a great podcast. I put my heart and soul into that show. I don't have advertisements. I don't ask for money. It's just me, right? That's all it is. And it's just audio only. If you want to see this ugly face, you can go to YouTube and watch the YouTube show, and that's fine. But I like audio only podcasts because I do stuff while I listen to the podcast. I work out, I'll do this or whatever, walk the dog. I don't like being married to a phone looking at a thing, right? So I really love my format. Anyway, on the 60th anniversary of JFK's death, which was last year, I released a series of podcasts, I think 7 in a row, all about the JFK assassination. And I firmly believe that our government was complicit in the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and a coup d'etat was perpetrated on our civilization in 1963, and is really the saddest day in the history of our country. And we've proven, I think, myself and Dr. Weck and a myriad of other experts in the field, it's closed science that he was assassinated by more than one gunman. Anybody out there that is a proponent that says it's Lee Harvey Oswald, to me, that's like a debunker saying it's swamp gas refracting off of the light of Venus. Okay. It's bullshit. Okay. The government killed the president of the United States in 1963, just like the government has been hiding the fact of aliens for 80 years. And that's kind of, where it kind of came into my consciousness of like, well, why did they kill JFK? Well, why did they kill him? And the record is clear that he was about to make a deal with the Soviet Union to share not only the UFO file, but to go to the moon with the Soviets and to stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons. And in addition to that, he did not want to go to Vietnam. He was extremely upset with CIA Chief Allen Dulles over the War of Bay of Pigs fiasco, which was thrust upon JFK before he became president. And he pulled out the air support for that covert CIA operation to overthrow Fidel Castro. Now, to put into perspective, and I'm sure your fans out there are extremely intelligent, the CIA has one purpose. They lie, they spy, and they either kill your character or they kill your person. That's what they do. That's all they do. That's their only role. They are a spy and assassination agency. And at that time, they were trying to assassinate Fidel Castro. And Kennedy said no, right? And our government, they wanted to be in Vietnam. Kennedy's like, no. Kennedy wanted to share the UFO file with Soviet Union. They said no. We want to stop nuclear weapons. They said no. And that's why Kennedy was killed. And my opinion. After, I learned of all this information over these years, then I started like, well, I'm still just casually interested in the UFO file. Listen, I don't want there to be monsters lurking around in the dark. I like baseball. I love my family. I love my dog. I like my job, right? It doesn't make me happy or thrilled or excited to say, hey, there's monsters in the dark. I don't know where they're from. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they want, but I feel like it's not good. Like, I'm not happy to give that message. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anybody to fund my soul foundation. I'm not asking you to, do anything. I'm just saying, look at this, look at the evidence and tell me what you think, and I'm here to lay out what I think the evidence shows. I've got some very interesting photographs to share with you that we have in part crowdsourced. And that's the other thing, one of my favorite podcasts is The Theory of Everything with Christian Mungle.
Mm-hmm.
And he recently had on a long while ago, Neil deGrasse Tyson, NDT.
Right.
And Neil deGrasse Tyson is, he's kind of the establishment boob of science, right? He's tries to be Neil, but he hasn't been in a laboratory in 25 years. Matter of fact, I think the one medical doctor, one guy was like calling for his PhD to be removed, to be revoked, because he's not a good spokesman for science, right? He's just kind of an establishment boob. And no offense to Neil deGrasse Tyson, but one of his famous quotes were, I can't worry about UFOs. I'm busy measuring moons. Yeah. All right. You go measure your moons, buddy. Go measure your moons. We got interesting stuff happening in people's backyards right here. I'm going to do that.
And that's man, there was a lot there. So I'm just gonna
Yeah,
try to
I know. I was a little bit of a rampage there, but
no, it's all good. But
you know,
there's a few things to unpack there because we are gonna get into
yeah,
the biggest case in just a second. But definitely there's a lot of overlap there with what you said. So I
yeah,
think it was important, a lot of the things that you said. Number one, recapping your career, what you've done, what you are doing. I mean, you do some incredible work, helping to set an innocent man free. Hopefully we see that. That's
yeah. I'm
incredible.
really, I really hope that that happens. Every indication is that it will. And this
Good.
judge is a smart guy, a measured guy. He listened to the evidence very carefully. I testified for over 4 hours. In fact, it was live streamed. If anybody wants to go see my testimony, just go to Facebook, type in Scott Roeder, Christopher Dunn hearing, and you can hear my whole testimony.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
so we got that. We got JFK, like you talked about. And some
Yeah.
people might listen and say, well, what does this have to do with the Vegas aliens? And I think,
Everything.
right, it all kind of comes together. Kind of so how you tied it all together, it shows how long this cover up has been going on in so many different scenarios. And, the usual suspects, as it were, I suppose, on who's behind the cover up and the whys. And you bring up some interesting points too. I mean, it might be controversial to some people
It is.
when they hear you talk about Christopher Mellon or Lou Elizondo or any of these people or any of the videos, and to say that it's their distractions or their CIA plants. And admittedly, and I know you understand too that might be controversial to hear for some people, but listen, I mean, it's worth an argument, right? In the way that you put it, why aren't they paying attention to this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's just a little bit about Christopher Mellon. And listen, I'm not trying to get on Christopher Mellon's radar because he's the kind of guy that can destroy you. Okay. His family is worth $4 trillion.
Okay.
Essentially, the Mellon family is like the Rockefellers or the Carnegies, right? They're one of the most powerful families in the history of Western civilization. Okay.
Wow.
This guy spent his entire life in the CIA or in a CIA three-letter related agency. And up until 2017, he was on the record of saying, there's no UFOs, there's no reverse engineering. This is all poppycock and jibber jabber with a bunch of people smoking dope and dropping acid. And he was all, it's just poopy poop, right? That's what he was. He's on the record of saying that, right? And then in 2017, out of the blue, he was the one. It was Christopher Mellon that got in touch with Leslie Keane at the Washington Post, and they had a meeting, and he gave her a thumb drive. He gave her Lou Elizondo, and he gave her the entire breaking story. That was not investigative news journalism. Leslie Keane and those guys didn't go out there digging up dirt and trying to. That was a planted story by Christopher Mellon, okay, in 2017, after an entire career of saying it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
And he being the one to know. And then in 2017, he plants that story. And then all of a sudden, we have this. We have this.
Yeah.
And I think people looking at that story, you're looking at a sleight of hand magic trick. I see those stories. Listen, Lou Elizondo. I love Lou Elizondo. I love the chin beard. I love the whole thing. It's cool, whatever. My dog loves Lou Elizondo. I have a laser pointer, and I say, hey, Dexter, you want to do Lou Elizondo? The laser pointer is called Lou Elizondo. The dog loves chasing the laser. So listen, Lou, thank you for adding that to my life. I appreciate it. But I'm not buying what you're selling. And maybe he's had a change of heart, but we all know, I think we should know, is that once in the CIA, you're always in the CIA. It's a lifetime sign up. You don't get to resign from the CIA. You're always in it. And that these guys are saying we're blowing the lid on the military, and I just don't buy it, man. I just don't buy it.
Well, I guess remains to be seen on that. And like I always say on the show, as you know, Scott, where I say, leave it up to you. You decide for yourself. So
yeah, no, I'm not here to tell anybody what to
Sure.
think. I could be wrong on all of that.
Right.
If what I want you to believe me on is bullet trajectory, blood spatter, and homicides. Okay, that's what you can believe me on. That's what I'm educated in. That's what I've spent my entire life doing. This stuff is it's kind of a hobby, but now it's kind of a passion project. Because when I took a look at that alien video or that Kenmore family video, I thought, whatever, it's another BS thing, whatever. There's nothing there. And the first thing I did was I looked at it. I'm like, oh, there's some weird stuff there. These people are really reacting to something viscerally. And then I went, okay, before I do anything further, I wanted to verify it was unedited, right? So we used several different off-the-shelf software packages where we break down the different tracks inside of the video. You have an audio video, you have a video file, an audio file, and then you have we used a AI software to check for any anomalies, right? And there was no anomalies, meaning it was an unedited, authentic video, and whatever was captured on that video was captured on the video. Right?
And we know that for sure. That is like inarguable.
100%. I've had it out for peer review. I've had it's been in the. I've made a public call on News Nation. I made a public call on my podcast. I've been on other podcasts. I said to everybody, listen, if anybody can prove that this video is edited in any way, get in touch with me. I've not had not one person even claim that it's edited. So it's real. Okay. It's over. It's real. Okay. And then what do you do from there? Okay. We know it's a real video. Whatever's on the video is real and it's happening. And that's where it gets weird.
Right. So let's pick it up from there, right? Because when we first spoke, that was kind of where we left it, right? We talked about the original appearance in News Nation. We talked about the, shadow, quote unquote, that was coming over the fence, and you proved that it wasn't a shadow, that there was actually a being there that was, using some type of cloaking because the opacity was different on that figure, and that measures to about 8 feet, the figure that was coming over the fence.
8 to 10 feet, 2 feet over the fence, 6 foot fence. His head's 2 feet over, but he's probably crouching. He's just popping his head over.
And so that's kind of where we left it. And we at that point said, like you said, the video's real. Yeah. That figure is real. Yeah. And there's more there. So I guess we can dive into the more. What else has been happening, Scott, since the first time that we spoke?
Okay, well, let's backtrack a little bit. Can we go pull up that slideshow that I have?
Okay, so just real quick, too, I know for anybody
you controlling it.
I can add it to the screen, so you can control it.
I can control it.
Yes.
So I have to go to the actual document, or can I control it here?
The
actual document, right?
So just for anybody listening on the podcast too, because I know that's where most of the consumption is of the show, and I appreciate that. So if this is obviously not visual when you're listening on the podcast, so we'll explain what's up on the screen, and then you can also refer back to the YouTube video of this visual right now that will be up after the podcast, a few days after the podcast itself comes out.
Okay, so page 1, let's talk about what are the facts of this case. Number 1, we have multiple accounts that a UFO fell out of the sky. And I use that term right there, fell out of the sky, because that is the term that the police use. Something fell out of the sky. They don't know what it was, but something fell out of the sky. Some people call it a meteor. Some people call it a shooting star. Some people call it UFO. I'm calling it a UFO because UFO just means unidentified flying object. So I think a UFO fell out of the sky. And there's a couple of weird things about the UFO. One, there wasn't just one. There was 2, maybe 3. Secondly, it was recorded by a FLIR automatic driving car camera where it was a long wave filter, and this had no heat signature. Okay, I did some research on meteors and shooting stars. They're supposed to have a heat signature because according to the science, what happens is it's an exploding rock coming through our atmosphere, and an exploding rock catches on fire and it makes a big heat signature. This thing does not have a heat signature. Also, it had a mechanical oscillating sound. There is some evidence pointing to, and we're working on this theory, that it had a deceleration before impact. Wow. And then it's also, I think, fairly certain now that it landed in the Kenmore yard. Okay. And there's a lot of work that's been done on that issue with all of the cameras from all of the areas pointing toward it, catching this thing in the sky. and then it triangulating it into the Kenmore family backyard. So I think all of that stuff is very factual. And then we have a 911 call by Angel Kenmore that was amazing and authentic, and absolutely, you could tell, I can tell from 30 years of listening to 911 calls, 30 years of listening to people who are accused of murder, who say they saw something. I know a liar when I see a liar. I can tell. And this kid was 100% authentic. Whatever he said he saw, that's what he thinks he saw. Okay. He's beyond reproach. This kid is telling the truth.
And what told you that, real quick, on just on that note, Scott? What
really everything, his body language, him talking about it after the fact, his body language. He does not prepare his answers for questions. He does not rehearse anything when he talks about this. The language he uses, the tone of his voice, the specifics he's giving, and the fact that his family backs him up 100%. Okay, 100%. He's been trying to avoid the public eye. And I give him credit for that, because listen, I've been thrust into the public eye because of this thing. I've had over 1 million views on these videos. I've been on all kinds of shows. I get emails every day from people saying, look at my UFO video. Look at this, look at this, look at this. I've been bombarded with people who are telling me, oh, these are demons falling from heaven, and you're going to go to church, you're going to go to hell, and don't fornicate, and all this stuff. It's like I'm being bombarded with people. Listen, I understand being in the public eye is not fun at all. It really isn't. It's not that fun. Okay, I've been on TV shows before and whatever. It's like you get comments and maybe you feel good about yourself and whatever. But the headache is not worth whatever you get out of it, honestly, I'm telling you. So he's trying to stay out of the public eye. This kid's authentic, 100%. And everything that he said is backed up with things we find in that video. And we're going to get to there. Okay, so we have the 911 call, totally authentic. We have the police record. The Las Vegas Police Department, they concur that this is not a hoax. They concur that this is not a phony phone call. They concur that this is not a raccoon or a traveling band of puppeteers going through the backyard and scaring some people. Okay, the Las Vegas Police Department take this case seriously. It's an open investigation. Homeland Security takes this case seriously. They put security cameras in the Kenmore family's backyard after this event happened.
I've heard it before. That's true. They actually put security cameras back there.
Yep. Yeah, they did.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, so you have all of this stuff, and you can't just look at one thing. Okay. And that's where these debunkers, where they lose all credibility with me, is because they'll build up a straw man. Right? Neil deGrasse Tyson is famous for building up a straw man to dismiss the whole thing. Okay. I'll give you an example of how you build up a straw man. Neil deGrasse Tyson says, I travel the lecture circuit and I talk to 500,000 people in person per year. And I always get these questions. I saw a light in the sky, therefore it's an alien. And that's just not science. That's what he says. That's not what people say. Nobody says that. Nobody says, I saw a light in the sky, therefore aliens. That's a straw man argument where you build up the weakest argument for your thing that you're trying to debunk, and then you debunk the weakest argument. That's what people try to do with this. It's a shadow. That's a straw man. That's a shallow comment. It's a camera artifact. That's a straw man. That's a shallow argument. Okay. What do you say? He imagined it. Okay. Well, if how is it on video? Okay. It's just ridiculous arguments. We've had this out in the public sphere now for almost a year in some way or form. We've had it out in a full reconstruction for over 6 months, over 3-4 months now. Not one credible debunking has been done. I am undefeated on this issue. Okay. The challenge is still out there, folks. Go have some fun. Try to defeat me. You're not going to do it, but you can try. All right. So item number 7, we're going to look at the for you. So items 1 through 6 above have been documented on multiple platforms that were available in almost real time, verified by multiple sources, government, residents, and computers. Okay. And here we have an image of the UFO, this meteor, this thing that fell from the sky. And you can clearly see there's not one, but there's 2.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I want to comment on this real quick. This is the picture, like you said, that was on social media. It's been on different platforms, and it was the picture, I think, from a doorbell camera, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
that showed the original light. What people said was a meteor streaking through the sky and landing in the vicinity of the Kenmore family backyard. And what you proposed, obviously, in the points that you pointed out on the first page, as far as no heat signature, a mechanical sound. The no heat signature is really wild, actually. I had never heard that before. And then also this second smaller light, which is, again, if you're listening on the podcast, a little bit like diagonally below the big light that we all saw on the original video. So I don't think a lot of people noticed the smaller light below it.
And the inset onto the right, that's the second one. The one to the left, that's a little bit higher, that's what people are calling the meteor.
Right. So the really bright one, right? That's the original thing that people saw.
Yeah.
But there's this little white dot below it. So
Yeah.
what is that second light?
You tell me.
Hmm.
I don't think it's a meteor. I've never heard of an idea of 2 meteors coming down at the same time like that. And also, meteors don't make mechanical sounds. They just don't. Matter of fact, 99% of the time, meteors don't make any sound at all that you can hear, unless it's you're in some like southern atmosphere, like if you might be south of the equator, somewhere to where the atmosphere is thinner or lower. You could maybe hear the sonic booms and whatnot, but nobody has ever in the history of meteors said it sounds like an oscillating mechanical sound. And we have that oscillating mechanical sound. If you go to my podcast, Crime Scene Time Machine, I don't know, somewhere I probably did 7 episodes on this issue. I think it starts with like episode 56, all the way through like episode 61, maybe even earlier. But I actually have the video of the Ring camera where you can hear it coming down. You can hear this thing oscillating mechanically down. Okay, so it's clear to me that the evidence is more probable than not that this is not just a mere meteor. Okay. The preponderance of the evidence clearly has been met that this is an odd UFO. Okay. It's probably not a meteor. I can't tell you it's a spaceship at this time, but it probably is, right? Because you look at the totality of the evidence of what happens in the Kenmore family backyard. And what did they do? They caught it on video. And here's what they caught. Check this out. So back in, I think the first one I did on the right side of the screen, I caught this guy, this little guy right here, right there. And he's only on camera for 25 frames of a 30 frame second, but he's moving really quickly from right to left. And I didn't even notice this guy to the left above the fence until 4 months ago.
Yeah,
because I was so focused on the guy in the background.
This is the picture that matches, I think, what was shown on News Nation, right? Where you were showing what was moving across the fence. And I had actually shared that video on my UAP podcast Twitter. I know a lot of people saw that. So this is that picture of the shadowy figure, right, for lack of a better term, right above the fence.
Yeah. And now this is an important point here, because the Kenmore family, they all, Angel and his brother said now you have to remember there's a sequence to it. Okay. So Angel and his brother in the backyard working on a truck. That's when the meteor UFO lands in their backyard. Okay. Then they come face to face with these beings and they're frozen for like 30 seconds. They can't move. They just can't move. And then Angel said a prayer and it released the freezing of the mind numb, whatever they did to them. And they ran into the house and they got their parents and they got their guns and they got a flashlight and they got the camera and they came back out. And this is what happened when they came back out. When they came into the fence, the dad is the first one out, and the father and Angel at 1 and 2, right? And then the brother's third, and the mom is fourth, and she's recording. That's a good stack, right? I do a lot of what do you call it? Breach cases where like a SWAT team's coming in. That's called a stack, right? You put the tip of the spear is going to be the most experienced fighter, and then second, third, fourth, right? Bringing up the rear for documentation and recording. This is a smart family who knows how to protect their property. And if you guys out there ever get in a home invader, this is how you deal with it. You go out in a stack, right? These are not dumb people. These are smart people. Okay. So he was frozen. He goes back inside. He gets his mom, dad, and the guns, and they come back out. They open the fence. And this is the moment where everybody just gets horrified. Frozen in time. This is the biggest story on the UAP issue in the last 25 years. The biggest story. We've got actual beings in the backyard caught on tape. Biggest story in 25 years. Biggest story possibly of all time. They didn't have tape running at Roswell, or at least that we have, right? They didn't have tape run. We have it on tape. It's right here on tape. It's real. It's verified. Anybody who says it's not real, you're either not listening or you're not honest. Sorry. That's the fact. So it's real. It's unedited. It's not a hoax. We've got footage. It captures the biggest story of all time. Bigger than Tic Tac, bigger than Go Fast, bigger than Gimbal. This is the story that everybody should be talking about because this is real. It's not brought to you by the CIA. It's not brought to you by a whistleblower. It's not brought to you by the government. It's not brought to you by the Gaia channel. Right? It's brought to you by a family that is reluctantly putting the story out because they're horrified at the implications of what it could mean. Right? And I'm just a reason and I want to back them up too. Right? I need to back up their statement because people are calling them all kinds of names. They're profiteers, they're hoaxers, this and that. No. If you call them that now, you are opening up yourself to slander, okay? And liable. Don't call the Kenmore family hoaxers and liars and cheats. Don't do it because now there's evidence to say that they're not. And if you do, you could be sued, right? So the evidence is in the public domain. They are not liars. They are not hoaxers. They are not cheats. What they saw was real. It's verified, and we're just getting started. So this is pretty inside. Now, over the fence here, let's take a little different look at the guy over the fence, okay?
Yeah.
How about this, okay? And I put a little size comparison. So this little skull here is about the size of Angel's head. This skull here is about the size of the alien's head above the fence.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Alien right here. One eye, two eye right there. See him?
Yeah. So what you did here, Scott, was you zoomed in on the picture, you brightened it a little bit, and the resolution is incredible the way you were able to do this because you can clearly see, you can make out a face and a figure over the fence as Angel is approaching through the fence into the backyard. And the way that you put these skull type of animations really shows the size difference in the heads between Angel and this figure above the fence.
Let's put them side by side. You want to see it? Let's see. Oh, I can't do it in this program. I can do it in the other one.
I mean, I would say it's double the size.
Yeah, it's double the size. Double the size. Yeah. And then also here's where it gets weird. Now listen, I don't want this stuff to be true. I just want to watch my baseball game. I want my Cleveland Guardians to win the World Series. That's what I want. That's what I'm interested in. I like baseball. I don't like aliens. I wish they weren't here. But they are, and it just gets weirder. Now look where. Can you see my mouse moving?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Look right here.
So we're circling. This is
What's that? I don't know what this is, but it looks like there's two eyes here, and there's another shape right there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just saw that today because this tape, this video, is the Zapruder film of UFOs. It is so rich with anomalies, inexplicable objects, cloaking, all different kinds of beings and so forth. And I'm not an expert in aliens. I'm not a astrobiologist. You know, I'm not a physicist. I'm not an astro. I know them. I talked to Avi Loeb. He's a friend of mine. We talk. He's been on my podcast twice. And if you want to hear my interview with Avi Loeb, go to Crime Scene Time Machine and listen to my interview with Avi Loeb. As a matter of fact, I asked Avi a question and made him chuckle. I said, Avi, we're going into outer space, and I kind of, think of it like, going into the unknown, right? And if clearly, if we're not the smartest guys in the universe, but we might be the dumbest and meanest guys in the universe, that might not work out well for us. And he's like, good point, because humanity seems like it's under a devolution, right? We're getting dumber. The technology, forget about that. That's making you dumber. The internet, the AI, the cell phone, the computer, that's not making us smarter. That's making us dumber. We're forgetting how to learn and figure things out for ourselves. We're devolving as a human race. And that's just an observation. It has nothing to do with anything other than what I see in the world. Constant war, constant just baiting of people, people just being mean, nasty, focusing on money, greed, all this shit. It's just, we're getting dumber. We're devolving as a species. I don't know, maybe the aliens or whatever these things are, they're like, we finally fattened them up and got them dumb enough where we can take them over. I don't know what it is, but we're certainly not at the top of our game as a human race, as evidenced by this upcoming presidential election, which we've got old dumb guy versus crazy dumb guy. Okay. So you tell me, are we getting better as a species or not, Steve? What do you think?
I don't have a good answer for that one, but there's a lot of good questions that we proposed here today, especially looking at this slide that you have up right now, because this is really interesting in that you have up this slide showing the original face over the fence.
Yeah.
And now kind of a newly discovered face or whatever that is, a figure
it gets weirder
below. It's almost like shoulder level of what the being would be at. And it's like right in front of Angel.
Yeah. And we have another look at him a little bit later. And I'll get off my high horse on the devolution of humanity, but and you can cut that out if I'm being offensive, because I have no sense of it. Okay, so now here is some more stuff here. Now here's the being over the fence again, right there. A little bit of a filter, and it's kind of a time lapse. So he's not quite all the way there because you can see that his head is not quite in the frame yet. And then here's the next frame where he's coming a little bit closer in the frame, and he's in there. Here's the side view of it, like a kind of elongated view. But then we see this.
So this is over the fence again.
Yeah, look at it. What is that? Like, what is that?
It's a very strange looking face of some sort that I'm seeing over the fence.
I didn't put that in there.
No.
It's there. It's there. Okay. I'm a member. I'm actually one of the chair members of the American Crime Scene Reconstruction Association Ethics Board. Okay. Which means if I catch another reconstruction expert lying or fabricating evidence, we will discipline him. I am telling you, I did not put anything in this video. Whatever's in this video, it's in the video. I'm not telling you I know what they are or what it is, but I'm telling you it's there. What is it? I'm asking you. I'm asking all your, what it is? What is it? I don't know what it is, but it's freaky.
It is freaky. So a couple of notes here real quick. Number one, I know, again, if you're listening to the podcast, these pictures will be up. I'm going to put is it okay, Scott? I put these pictures up
go ahead.
On Twitter and everything like that. So you can follow along and you can grab the pictures at UA Podcast 850 on Twitter. So you can follow along with the pictures that we're talking about. And again, this will also be on YouTube. So you can even see a better visual representation of real time of our conversation. But the picture that you're showing right now, I'm just going to try to describe it, and then I'm going to throw you a debunk scenario that you might see in comments, okay? What I'm looking at right now is some type of bulbous head with a short-looking face in the middle, but big eyes, and then like some type of slender chin. And this is coming over the fence in the area that we saw the original alien figure from the first time that we spoke. Now, that said, what you might hear in a debunk, so I want to throw this at you because I always try to be fair.
Yeah, sure.
Someone will say, a Mick West or somebody like that will say, well, guys, that's clearly just the shadow from the trees, and your mind is playing tricks on you, and you're
Oh, Mick
built in to see a
West.
face there. You're
That
built in
mental
to see
giant
things
Mick
that
West.
you're
You
built
know
in
what
to
Mick
see
West
things
said
that
about this
can.
video?
What did he say?
He said it's a raccoon.
Oh, okay.
It's a raccoon.
Now I'm
I think
just
my
using
last
him.
episode I dedicated to Mick West. It was all about raccoons. I got some
Because
great raccoon videos. Did you know you can teach a raccoon to play the piano?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, you can actually make a raccoon totem pole. Matter of fact, I've seen in the circus where a raccoon gets on the shoulders of another raccoon and gets on the shoulders of another raccoon, and then they walk around. Maybe it's that, Mick West. Maybe it's that. Maybe that's what it is, Mick. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you do the work on this case, Mick? Did you analyze the video, Mick? Mickey? Mr. West?
To be
You
fair,
did? What do
I
you think it is,
was
Mick? Is it a raccoon? Maybe it's a raccoon. You know what? He's right. Fuck it. You know what? I'm done. It's a raccoon. I'm out.
and to be fair, I wasn't putting anything in Nick West's mouth as far as what he hasn't
No,
seen.
that's what he would say. That's what he would say. That's what Mick West
Right.
would say. Mick West, here's the thing about debunkers. I put debunkers in the same categories as the CIA disclosure guys. So Mick West is there to be like, it's all fake. And then the CIA disclosure guys are there like, look at the tic tac. And they're the opposite sides of the same coin. Neither one of them wants you to look at the real stuff. And this is the real stuff.
It is a really strange site. I mean, again, these will be shared. I mean, it's creepy actually. So what I'm doing right now is I'm holding up because I printed these out. You sent these to me. I have them directly, and I'm actually kind of getting chills as I'm looking at it because I swear to you, I didn't really get to take a good look at this before we started, and you can probably hear my voice shaking a little bit because I have chills running through my body as I look at this face even closer, and this is not a nice thing. Scott, this is not good.
No,
I mean, that's not good. What I'm looking at here is something.
There's more. It gets weirder.
That's not good.
Weirder. If you think that's weird, let's go to slide number 6. Okay.
I don't know why this didn't pop out to me before, and I'm hoping it's trees, but what I'm seeing here is giving me a feeling of just being really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and I'm seeing a face that is not happy with us.
Yeah, man. It's not. I don't think
Wow.
I don't know that they're here to hurt us, but I don't feel like they're here to help us. Okay.
Wow.
Anybody that's creeping around in the middle of the night in the dark ain't up to no good. Okay. Let's just take it down to what you know is true, right? We know that if somebody's creeping around in your backyard at 2 a.m. and he's not supposed to be there, he's probably not up to something good, right?
Yeah.
Probably not. These guys don't seem to like the daylight. They don't seem to like the sunshine. Okay. And they don't seem to meet people in the day. You very rarely is there ever a situation where there's a daytime encounter. I think it's happened a couple of times, maybe. But very rarely. The majority of these encounters happen at night, right? Which means they don't really want everyone to see them. And I've got some UFO. I've got some. I'm actually going to change the term today. We're no longer going to be referring to this as UAP. Okay, I'm taking that term away. Everybody out there, we're not calling. You're gonna have to change. You're gonna have to get a new hat. Okay, we're not using the term UAP anymore. We're now going to change it, and the term is now going to be unidentified non-human visitors. UNV. Okay. And I don't think that they're any good. They're probably not good guys. I don't think they're the good guys. I figured my point is okay. So we're going to go to number 6.
Yeah.
There we go.
This is where we start to get into the forklift area. And
yeah, this is the forklift.
This is something that I had a lot of people in the meantime.
Yeah, me too.
Right. Where in between our first conversation to right now, in this point in time, the majority of the comments that I got were, "What about the forklift?" And a lot of people said when the original video was out there, because a lot of people can't find the original video anymore.
Go
That
to my page, Crime Scene Time Machine. I put the original video on my YouTube channel, Scott Roeder at Crime Scene on YouTube. I have the entire unedited video up there in HD 4K on my page.
yeah, and a lot of people said when they saw that original video, which I'm glad you have it up there for posterity and for people to see, is they said, "I saw something by the forklift and I wish I had screen grabbed it when I saw it and I never got to, and then it was gone."
Yeah.
So here's the forklift.
Okay, so there's all kinds of things going on. So much stuff going. Like I said, this is going to go down in history as the most interesting video ever to be put in the public domain when it comes to the UAP issue, or the UNV, non-human, the unidentified non-human visitor situation. Because if you look at UAP, the term unidentified anomalous phenomenon, all that means is I don't know what that is, but I saw it. That's what that means.
It's crap.
It means nothing.
Right.
It means nothing. It's just bullshit term. It reminds me of like the movie My Cousin Vinny, when the prosecutors try to get her with a question. What would be the time? Yeah, well, that's a bullshit question. Chevy didn't make a carburetor at 350 in 1957. You know what I mean? It's a bullshit term. We had more clarity on this issue when we were calling it a flying saucer. Okay, that was more accurate as to what it was. But then apparently there was a religious connotation to it. I don't know, but that's what I heard. And they changed it to UFO. And then UFO got wacky, and now Christopher Mellon, I'm telling you, he's the one. And that other fucking weird other guy that's a piece of shit liar, the Arrow guy, Dr.
Sean Kirkpatrick.
Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, that liar. What a liar. He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a bozo. He's a liar. You know why he can lie to you? Because he thinks he's better than you. He's better than everybody. That's these people that control this issue. They don't want to tell you this because you don't need to know, because you're not as good as they are. You don't come from a great family. You're not wealthy. You didn't go to Harvard or Yale. You don't work for the government. They're better than you. You don't need to know. They're better than you. You don't need to know. You'll just be scared. You're going to run around the street with your hair on fire, and you won't pay your taxes anymore. So we don't want to tell you because you're not good enough. You don't need to know. You're not essential. That was actually my impersonation of my friend Jim Quirk at Extraterrestrial Reality. He's got a really fun show where that's kind of his shtick, but that's kind of true though, right?
Yeah.
The Sean Kirkpatrick, he's been lying. Those guys are liars. They're all liars, man.
I wonder what they would say if they saw this.
I think that they would be like, "Oh, it's a raccoon. It's a shadow of a raccoon with a camera artifact in its back pocket. That's what it is." And then they'll say Venus and swamp gas. Okay. So anyway, let's get back to the your people are probably gonna hate me. I apologize. I'm a little bit of a rampage. No, but it's exciting talking about this.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to tell people out there, listen, I'm not making a profession out of this, right? It's not my job. This isn't even something I plan to do. It's just I'm doing it because I can. And nobody has brought real kind of a science into it, except for, sometimes you get consciousness science, or you'll get like physicists, but that's all nuts and bolts stuff. I think this is way beyond a nuts and bolts argument. This is something bigger than that. And they say, oh, people are going to have ontological shock. Yeah, I agree. You will, because once you realize that something like this is here, the very fabric of your understanding of the nature of our reality will start to melt away. And you're going to realize that these other things that you're dealing with or thinking about in the world, in the domain, they're not important at all. And they're mostly distractions to keep you away from the really important stuff like this.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but listen, I know I might come off as a little bit, excitable or whatever, but this is not a boring issue. It's a very exciting issue, and the fact that it's real and they're here, and that argument's over. It's over. It's over. The argument is over. It's over. We're not going to talk about whether we're here alone or not. That argument is over. There's a new conversation in town, and the conversation is: who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? And then the fourth question is, what are you doing to protect us? And those are the questions the government doesn't want to answer, because that leads you to some very tricky waters.
Yeah.
Very tricky waters. For example, it leads you to the question of, well, you've known all this time. Why didn't you tell us before? You've known all this time. Did you make a deal with them?
Right.
Are you them? Is that why we're constantly at war? Why? What's going on? If we have access to this technology, why are we fighting each other down here? Look at what Ronald Reagan said. He said he said this at like a NATO or a United Nations thing in 1981 or something like that. He said, and he was trying to make peace with Russia too. Actually, I mean, he did that. Tear down this wall. He ended the Soviet Union, right? And we had momentary peace with Russia. And Russia's involved in this too. The constant state of war. Now, this is just my opinion. The constant state of war converges with the UFO issue, and it converges with the military-industrial complex. Because if we have these reverse-engineered craft, why are we fighting with bullets and bombs?
Yeah.
What are we fighting about? What are we fighting over? What are even these wars about? It's about nothing. It's just about selling bullets and bombs. That's what it's about. I'm sorry if that's a controversial issue, but that's what these wars are about. It's about selling bullets and bombs and tanks and planes, and that's what it is. That's what it's about. I'm sorry that I say it, but I'm sorry. Anyway, so here we got the forklift.
Yeah. So on
this first issue up here, we've got this little shadowy guy that looks like he's right here, right? And like, oh, what is that? But then he moves, and we got him here. But now we see this, right? So we don't see that here, but then we see it here. So it's an interesting thing. Now that's just something I pulled out today. But we got a shadowy guy here, right? But then we see something also in the forklift. I see a head here. With eyeballs looking that way. And I see something here looking that way. And then there's more, right? And then you can even look in the back. Looks like there's something here, right?
It's 13 hours.
And then here we have some movement. And then here's another one right here. This is also in there. This is in there too. What's that?
So let me just.
Is that part of the tree too, Mick?
Yeah, right. Let me jump in real quick on that, Scott, because this is.
Sorry.
No. I just wanted to say this is hugely important because the slide you were just talking about with the forklift, again, that was a lot of people's contention, was what was by the forklift. And so the first one here that you were talking about is you can see it before and after, almost like instantaneous. There's something in there and it's hard to make out. And then when we go down to number 7, page 7 is, well, it's lucky number 7. This is the money shot. This is where I was on with Patrick on his Vetted podcast on YouTube.
I heard that.
Yes, he's awesome.
Yeah,
great guy, and he's really good at what he does. I admire him. He's one of the guys I admire in this field because he does a really good job, and he's in it for the right reasons. And when I spoke to him, he asked me about the Vegas case, and I said, I'm talking to Scott Roeder and what I've seen behind the scenes, and what we're going to talk about the next time we speak, which is right now, is a picture he showed me of undeniable proof of an alien face. And I even said that on Twitter after you and I first went over this about a month and a half ago, is when you first showed me this picture that we have up right now as we're talking. And I said, oh my gosh, that's an alien face. And so if you heard my interview on Vetted, this is what I was talking about. And if you saw my tweet about a month and a half ago where I said it's undeniable, this is what I was talking about. And if you don't see, obviously you're listening to the podcast, so you can't see it. But like I said, It will be out on social media. Hopefully you follow along at UA Podcast 850 on Twitter is where all these pictures are going to be. Scott, that's an alien face.
Yeah.
It's a face of an alien, and we're staring at it. I mean, there's two big black eyes. There's a clear shape of a head attached to what looks like even more of a cloaked body. And what's weird about this is even as I'm talking about it, the body seems more cloaked than the head. How or why would that be?
Well, that's interesting. We can hypothesize on that. And actually, I'm working with this. Here's one good thing about this thing for me is I've now built this crowdsourcing digital warrior team that I'm now getting, and I'm verifying it myself once I get the stuff. But I have all these people out there that are volunteering to look through this video and sending me and calling my attention to new stuff. This is one of those things. And then I go through my video and then I find it. I'm like, thanks. It's like, where's Waldo? But why would the head be less cloaked than the body? And this kid, Matt, out of Texas, nice kid. Shout out to Matt. He theorized, he's a military brat. Both his mom and dad were in the Air Force, still are. He lived right next to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and now he's living in Texas. And so he's self-taught at this. He's been working on this for a while too. And he connected with me on TikTok, actually. And then we started talking and whatever. We were talking on the phone, and now I'm kind of incorporating some of his stuff into my work too. Nice kid. Real talented. And he got me this. But anyway, he had a theory that if they're wearing suits, and they always talk about they're wearing these thin suits and whatnot, maybe the suits cloak more than the head. And if you don't have like a hood, maybe your head doesn't get cloaked. Maybe it just cloaks the body. I feel like that was an interesting concept.
It's as good a theory as any because, I mean, what we're seeing here, and again, debunkers, by all means, look, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. That's never been my thing, right? So we're on the same page with that. But when you just use your eyes and you look at this, I know you and I agree on what we're seeing, which is, my Lord, that's the face of an alien.
Yeah.
And you might have some people say, well, it could be an owl. I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to think of what a debunker or what somebody who will try to explain this away, what they might say.
It could be a traveling band of puppeteers. It could be. It could be. It could also be a raccoon. It could be. But is it likely? Is it like, let me give you, this is what I actually testified to in court one time. I was testifying on a police case where this young girl, pregnant girl, was shot and killed by the police. She was a passenger in a car. They weren't trying to shoot her. They were trying to kill the driver of the car. And the bullets came in from the side and the back, and those are the ones that killed her. And my argument was, well, they were already on the way out. Why did you shoot at a fleeing car? You're not supposed to do that. And anyway, they were trying to cross-examine me. And he's like, isn't it possible, Mr. Roeder, that that the shell casing here ricocheted off of the roof and then here to there, and then somebody kicked it over to there, and that doesn't. I'm like, listen, it's possible that I'm a hologram and I'm not really here, but it's not likely, right? It's possible that it's a traveling band of puppeteers, but it's not likely. It's possible that it's a raccoon, but it's not likely. We're not talking about possibilities. That's a straw man argument again. The debunkers need more, right? Occam's razor is in favor of aliens, okay? Because Occam's razor says the most simple explanation is most likely the correct one. And the idea that a traveling band of puppeteers was traveling across the country and staged this elaborate hoax, that's less likely than an alien falling out of the sky and landing in your backyard. Less likely, it's just less likely, right? So the simplest answer here is that it's real. That's the simplest answer.
It's startling. It really is. I mean, when you look at this thing, and also I think you need to take into account, right, when we try to look at other possibilities or scenarios, you have to also take into account what was happening in this moment. Yeah. Let's remember that in this moment, you have a scared family who are calling for the police because they reported 8 to 10 foot beings in their backyard.
And by the way, we have, I think, 18 minutes of body camera footage by the responding Las Vegas police officer that we are trying to obtain. We've identified where it's at. We have a Freedom of Information Act request out for it. I'm going to be traveling to Las Vegas to personally visit the police station. We are going to have our lawyer. I work with lawyers all the time, so I'm having a lawyer put legal papers to get that documentation. I am doing everything I can right now, the full force of everything I know about the law and documentation to get that footage. And
Wow.
I'm going to tell you, there's going to be more on it. There's going to be more on it. And I think this is the tip of the iceberg right here. And matter of fact, there's some evidence to say they might even still be there now.
So I was going to ask you that, and I know we still have a couple of slides left, but now you brought it up, so I got to ask it.
Yeah.
What happened after all this, right? We talk about the night, but what happened now? This is over a year ago. So where did they all go?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. Obviously there's nothing there. There's no ship in their backyard right now.
Right.
We know that. Although here's something very interesting. By all accounts of the body camera of the aerial footage that we have, and some accounts of video in the backyard, it seems like the ship might even be in the backyard in this footage, but it's cloaked. I've got a guy in Canada. He goes by the hashtag, goes by the name Gray Owl, who's a zealous enthusiast on the issue, who is trying to vet out whether he can identify that there is a craft that's being cloaked in the back. And he has found, and I'll give a little tip of what he's found. He doesn't think the second forklift is an actual forklift. He thinks the second forklift might actually not be there, and it's part of the cloaking.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. We're trying to verify it, but I think you might be onto something. Like I said, we're crowdsourcing this, and we're getting a lot of people out there. And listen, you don't have to be some fancy pants like Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick to contribute to this issue, right? You don't have to be Lou Elizondo. You can just be a regular guy like you and me, using your God-given abilities of your ears, your eyes, and your senses, your gut, to find stuff, right? And that's one thing where I diverge from Avi Loeb on. Him and I actually had a little bit of an argument when I talked about my podcast, because he's like, sensors, Scott. We have to have computers and sensors and the data and the computers and the sensor. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the sensors and the data and the computer and the sensors. I'm here to tell you that the human brain and your gut and your senses, your human sixth sense, your bullshit detector is more valuable than any computer that Harvard can make. You are the most complicated, sophisticated, fine-tuned computer in the world is right here. Nobody can replicate the human brain. Is the most complicated computer in the world. You have more ability to determine what's real and what's not than Harvard, than Avi, than Neil deGrasse Tyson, than NASA, than anyone. You have that ability. You have it. Everyone has it. You just need to tap into it, calm everything out, and do what Carl Sagan does, what he said. And he was my favorite scientist. And although he came out, I think, originally as a UFO advocate, but then the CIA got him and kind of made him into a debunker. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, Carl Sagan was a believer in the possibilities of ETs. But he said, go back to first principle. What can you personally prove, right? What can you personally prove? Don't go on what other agencies say. You can't depend on NASA, because NASA's known liars. They manipulate the footage. They throw things away. They lie. You can't count on the government. They lie. They kill. They lie. You can't count on them. The only people you can count on is yourself. What can you do? What can you prove? What can you identify as being real? And that's where I'm at on the nature of our reality. What can I do on first principle to prove something is real or not? That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, amen, man. That's
And
it's
listen, if
really,
you work for NASA,
yeah,
you're probably not the liar, okay? If
right.
you, it's not the individual person. Same thing with the military. There's no bad warriors. There's only bad generals, and there's only bad presidents. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah,
about. It's the
yeah,
institution and the
right.
leadership of the institution, not the people.
Yeah, I got you. And
Yeah,
I think if a lot of people would agree with that.
yeah,
There was so we have this figure by
yeah.
the people.
Let's go down to the bottom figure here.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, and it's a little blurrier. This was a video. Actually, we'll skip that. We'll go to the next one. Okay, here's a real fun one.
I've been looking at this thing because this is a new one that you had sent me. I hadn't
Yeah,
seen this
I sent you
until
actually the video I sent you.
oh, okay. So I
Yeah,
even have to watch the video
yeah,
because I've never seen this before. What are we
yeah.
looking at? So it's a video
It's to the left of the forklift in the last 1/3 of the video.
and it's some type of triangle face coming off of a long neck is how I can describe it with two black dots for eyes.
It looks like ET from the movie ET.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I have no idea what I'm looking at. I'll be completely honest. And I
I don't
don't
know
know.
what it is either, brother. I'm not here to tell you what it is. I'm
Right.
just sure there's something there.
There's
It's not
something
part of
there.
the forklift. I don't think it's a raccoon. It might be. I don't know. I don't.
I
Maybe
don't
it's a
think it
raccoon.
is.
Maybe there's an infestation of raccoons in Las Vegas. And you know what? It's actually funny. I'm going to pile on Mick West for a second again. If that image above the head, if we go back to this first image here, if this image right here does turn out to be a raccoon, that to me is scarier than being an alien, because that means there's 10-foot tall raccoons
Yeah, we don't want
walking
those.
around.
We don't want those. They'll get into the trash cans. They'll be a mess.
You know what I mean? What's more scarier, 10-foot tall raccoon or an alien? I'm going to say this raccoon's scarier. Sorry, Mick. You just got to try harder, bro. I don't even know why people. Why do people know his name? How did Mick West get coronated head debunker of the National Debunkers Association? Anybody know?
I don't know. And I've invited him on this show multiple
What's
times.
his job in life? What does he do? What does he? How does he make money? What does he do? What's his job? Does he have a job, or is his job debunker job? Is that a job? Can you be a professional debunker?
Maybe. I know he had a history in some type of computer
Oh,
animation or
is he a
graphics, I
computer
think.
gaming guy or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's
Oh,
what
so
it was.
clearly he's qualified to debunk everything. Clearly, clearly. Michael Shermer, he's another debunker, has no discernible form of income, yet has a house in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, $1 million home. And he has a magazine called Skeptic Magazine. I've never seen that magazine. I've been to New York, LA, I've never seen a copy of Skeptic Magazine anywhere ever. I don't even know if you can buy it, but apparently that's his job for the last 30 years, is make this Skeptic Magazine. And Michael Shermer, the same people that actually I was on Surviving the Survivor with Michael Shermer. They kind of sandbagged me with him. I didn't know he was going to be there.
Yeah.
And they're like, Scott, how did you learn about UFOs? And I was like, oh, John F. Kennedy. When I realized that, and then this guy cut me off. And so this guy is a UFO debunker and a Kennedy denier.
That's his
So
thing.
the people that deny the assassination of John F. Kennedy are the same people that deny the existence of aliens. Isn't that interesting? They're the same guys. They're the same people. If you believe Lee Harvey, if you come out there in the world and you write books that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only guy, and also Roswell is fake, why? I don't get that. Why is the UFO denier guy the same as the JFK assassination denier guy?
So
They're
are
the
we
same
saying
guy.
are we saying that they're plants? That these people are put there on purpose to deny these things and get these ideas out there of denial?
No, you tell me. I just find it interesting that if you look at the debunker community and the UFO file, they're the same kind of people, or actually the same actual guy that denies the Kennedy assassination. And I'm here to tell you that we will never have the government admit what really happened on Kennedy, although we already know. And we will never have the government admit the reality of UFOs because they're intertwined.
Man, wild, wild stuff when you really sit and look at it, especially with these pictures. There's I have a few more
You can't
questions
just
on me.
look at things in a vacuum, right? You can't just look at a picture and be like, oh, fuck, right? Or look at one case and it's all connected. To me, it's all connected. But whatever. Okay, so let's go back and let's go back to our last slide. I think, okay, we had this guy. We talked about him. And now we got this guy. There's one guy here too. Now here, again, we look at a big marshmallow head, looks like a Pope hat with two eyeballs, a nose, sitting right there. I got a circle around him and right there.
And this is by the forklift again, the forklift area.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but it's there. Maybe that's a shadow. Maybe it's a raccoon.
I don't know, man. But see, what the question I have at this point is, as we look at all these different pictures of these figures and of these faces in different locations of the backyard, how many were there? Like, what was going on in this backyard? I mean, I think Angel said in the original police report that he saw two, right? And that was kind of the number people went with. There's two figures in the backyard. We've gone over like 5 or 6 different figures in different locations.
There's more. There's more. Matter of fact, News Nation interviewed Angel, like I don't know, 3 months ago or something like that, and or it might have been Inside Edition, one of those places. And Angel said, and this is the first time I had heard it. He said when they went back into the house, when they were waiting for the police to come, they were praying. You know, they're religious people, and they heard what Angel said, hundreds of little footsteps all around and even on top of their roof.
Oh my gosh. That's terrifying.
Terrifying. And if you look at the anecdotal information about these spaceships, even the one that the government says, I think one government whistleblower said this, that it could be a 16 diameter spaceship, but you step inside and it's as big as a football field.
Yeah, that's right.
They're not playing by the same rules of physical reality as we are, apparently.
Yeah, there is a different some type of physical alterations that they're able to make where dimensions don't match the actual size once you're inside the craft. We've heard that a lot from different abduction cases over the decades, actually.
And then here's my last slide for you here.
Yeah.
This is you remember that first slide? Let's see.
And then we'll finish up with some follow-up questions after this because this has just been so extremely fascinating.
Where's that? We had it. Was that one that was no. Here. No.
No, that was lucky number 7.
Yeah. Here it is, this one. Okay. So remember this guy here?
Right. So this is where we saw the original picture of the, giant figure over the fence. And then as you looked into it more, the picture we talked about earlier was the 4th slide that we were on, which was the smaller figure to the shoulder, what would be the shoulder of the bigger figure behind the fence. And we don't know what this shadowy thing is, but it has a face to it, seemingly.
Yeah. And this guy here is kind of running on that inside part of the fence. So I thought maybe this guy, we have a better shot of him. And I brought it. I just found this today. Actually, I was messing around with this thing this morning right here.
Okay. So it kind of matches on the last slide. Yeah. On slide 10, and there's some type of strange protruding figure behind the fence. It's again behind the fence. This is the same area. Something was happening behind this fence with more than one figure, apparently.
And I have hundreds of more images that I frankly am not ready to release to the public because, well, a couple things. One, they're horrifying. 2, I can't explain how the technician who gave it to me did it. Okay. And I don't want
these were pictures then that you didn't grab yourself. It was somebody in the crowdsource that said, hey, Scott, look at this, but from the video. Yeah.
Right. And then there are slides from the video, but the technology that this individual said he was using is something called quantum imaging. Okay, and it's a real thing. I looked it up. There's an actual thing, quantum imaging, and I said, if I'm going to release these images, I need you to put into the public domain how your technology arrived at these images. And he said, I can't do that because it's proprietary. And I said, well, then I need you to demonstrate it live without doing it, without giving away your trade secrets. And then he said to me, well, I'm something called born secret. Because, and what he was trying to say is that the technology is not in the computer. He is the technology, and you cannot replicate it because only he can do it. And then to me, I'm like, okay, that's bullshit then, because if you can't teach me how to do it, then that means you're fudging the record, and I don't want to do it. Right. So I'm only using images that I can replicate with conventional off-the-shelf technology. None of what I'm doing here is a mystery. Anyone can do this. If you have a cell phone and you download this video and you go through it frame by frame, and it'll take time because there's 1 minute and 41 seconds of footage, 30 frames per second.
Wow. Okay.
Go through each frame. One, look at it. Next. That's what I did. That's how we got to this. I went through every frame. One, analyzed it, 10 minutes, looking at it. What can I find? Next. It takes months. Yeah.
And that's the incredible thing about this is, you talk about the amount of time in between frames. You said 30 frames per second, right? Yeah. So that said, I mean, in some cases, these might have been like split second images that were appearing and reappearing out of physical reality. I mean, instantaneously to the naked eye, they couldn't be seen, which is why we say, well, how many were there in this backyard? Because we're talking about the Kenmore family saying they saw 2, but there's way more than 2. Just from what we're looking at.
Well, there's a lot of there's some things that we can hypothesize there. It could be a small number of them that can shapeshift. That's a possibility. Or there could be just a bunch of them, or maybe they're popping in and out. Maybe here's a theory that I like, but it's probably not true, but I like this theory, is that, a couple of kids from the spaceball team, they won the big game. They steal their dad's UFO. They're going to go drink a beer down on Earth. They get a flat tire. They crash. And then they have to call for a tow truck and they get out of Dodge, right? I like that one. That one makes sense to me. I can sleep at night with that one. I don't need to go get an exorcism. I don't have to do anything weird. It's just, hey, kid from the spaceball team got a flat tire and he called a tow truck. I like that one. But I don't think that's true. That's probably not going to be turning out to be the facts of the case. I don't know, Steve. What do you think?
I would probably not, but I would say I wish it was that innocent. But yeah, this is it's wild, man. I think images 5 and 7 for me were some of the most incredible pieces of imagery I've ever seen when it comes to UAP cases. And again, these will all be out. I've said it a million times, but I want to make sure these will all be out for public consumption. Scott's giving me permission to do that, and I appreciate you doing this.
And we've got more stuff. We got more stuff coming too, bro. We got more stuff coming. Like I said, I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to try to get that body camera footage. I've got lawyers on it. Plus, I'm going to go there. I'm going to show up in person. There's only so much stuff you can do on the phone and over the thing. I'm just going to go there. I'm just going to go and see what I find. I'm also in touch with some people that I'm going to get on the record, which I think will be big news. I'm also developing other stories in this genre. And just to let everybody know, I am officially taking on the Miami Mall incident as my next investigation.
There you go. I was going to ask you that. Okay, can I just let me unpack some of that real quick. So first off, this isn't anywhere close to being over because of what you just said. You're going to go investigate this in person. You have the Freedom of Information Act out for the 13 or 18 minutes.
I think it's 18 minutes.
18 minutes missing of body cam footage from the police who were there that night and investigated the backyard. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. So we're trying to get that footage. You're going to Vegas. You're in touch with people who are going to make big news involved with this case. So there's a lot more to uncover with this, and I can't wait to do a part 3 with you on this. But I was going to ask you about the Miami alien case, New Year's Day 2024. It's something I covered pretty extensively here on the show. Do you think there's something to that, or
Hell
really?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I haven't started my investigation, but like I get chills. My hair stands up on my arms when I watch some of that footage. And there's a lot of footage out there, and it's weird footage. It's almost got this fake filter on it, but some of the stuff is clear. And I'm trying to, my next step I'm going to do is I'm going to personally, I have friends, I do business down in Miami all the time. So I'm tracking down some of these people in person that were there. And a couple of these people are going to be on the record with me to say that the police wouldn't let them leave the mall until they confiscated their phones and deleted all aspects of their footage. And I'm going to have these people on the record. Also, the police response to that incident was a bigger response than New York City and 9/11. What the hell happened that made 18,000 police officers from Miami-Dade County and city of Miami converge on the Miami Mall? Okay, I'm telling you, it wasn't some kids with firecrackers. It wasn't a gun being shot. You get people getting shot at the airport, 10 cops show up, right? A bank robbery, maybe 10 cops, right? So like 16,000, that's enough police officers to take over, say, France. If you take all of those cops that showed up to the mall, you could take over the country of France. That's how big that police force was.
And that's what's so striking to me about that case, real quick. And I know, I don't mean to jump back and forth, but it's relevant because I was going to ask you about it anyway.
Yeah.
Being down here in South Florida, living down here, I know how sensationalized the news can be sometimes. I mean, it's big business down here when it comes to local news.
Yeah.
Because of all the
crazy good news down there too. Really attractive newscasters too.
Well,
So, I love watching the weather in South Florida. A lot of great weathercasters out there.
No comment. But no, I mean, when it comes to the response to that, you're absolutely right. Because being down here my whole life, I've never seen a story like that had international attention with the police force that was there not get covered. I mean, that was the most striking thing to me. So it was that the lack of local coverage.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, it was basically non-existent. And then also what you touched on, which was, where was the cell phone video? That was a full mall in Miami from people from various different countries.
Yeah.
Who are down in Miami. It's a melting pot. Okay. We know that. And they're at this mall, at a popular mall, and not one cell phone video comes out of whatever was happening that night. I'm glad you're taking this on because there are so many questions from that.
And it's New Year's Day. Must have been 300 brand new right out of the box cell phones.
Right.
Walking around, right? And some of this footage is really crazy. And some of the footage goes in line with some recent nerd level science discoveries that I've been following. There is this thing called it's like a black goo, right? But it changes shapes, and if you put fire on it, it'll do stuff. If you make it cold, it'll do stuff. You throw it on the ground, it'll reassemble. It's like this weird plasma black goo that they found somewhere exotic, but the stuff that's going on that we've seen in the Miami Mall stuff seems to be similar to that, but a lot of shape shifting. They don't seem to be trying to hurt or harm anyone, but they also don't seem to be scared. I think they are a little bit surprised that they're being seen. I think, to me, it suggests that maybe they've done this before, and they're just like, well, why is everybody reacting this way? Because normally we're invisible, and maybe something happened that they weren't invisible this time. But nobody got hurt, and but it's weird, and we're gonna work on that. It's gonna take a long time. Listen, I've worked on just the Vegas case for like 9 months now. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't covered any other case. I've done John F. Kennedy stuff. I put out a memorial video for Dr. Weck when he died last month. But primarily, I've just been doing the Vegas case. That's it. And I have my regular job, which is a full-time job. We handle 10 murder cases at a time. At any one time, working on 10 cases. Wow. So this gets about 2 hours of my day every day on just this case. So this Miami Mall case, and the Vegas case is going to keep going on for probably a while until, whoever knows, I don't know. Maybe it'll never end. Maybe the Vegas case will be my lifelong project. I don't know. There's people today that only study the Roswell case, and there's still stuff they're coming about now. But I feel like I'm done with the case. It's outside of my area of expertise to a degree. I proved that they're there. It's a fact they're there. It's there. They're there. They're there. There's something there. I'm going to try to figure out what it is and try to get more footage. But short of that, I'm not here to tell you what they are, where they're from, what do they want, or what are we doing about it. That's not my job. My job, I'm going to stay in my lane and stick to my factual investigation. All that other stuff I told you and I talked about with the war and that's all personal opinion. So separate my commentary from the investigation. This investigation is about what we can prove, and that's it. And then everything else on there is just kind of like, me taking the dog for a walk and kind of thinking out loud, right? I'm going to do the same thing in the Miami case. I'm going to say, what can we prove? And I'll kind of figure out, well, what do I think it might be? And then I'm going to back off of that case and move on to something else, because I'm here to do my job, which is to verify physical and forensic evidence, corroborate it to witness statements, and come to a determination to a degree of scientific probability what happened.
And that's where we're at now, which is basically you feel confident in saying that you can say that you proved that there is some type of being in that backyard.
Unrebutted, by the way.
Yeah.
Unrebutted. And the silence of the UFO community is deafening.
It's something, man.
Richard Dolan. What's up, Richard? Lou Elizondo. Hey, Lou. Hey, Jeremy Corbell. Give me a call, huh? They won't. You know why? Because this is too big for them. It's too big. It's too big for them. They can't handle this kind of a case. And I have reasons. I think why. Maybe why. Maybe I know why. I'm not going to say why. I don't want to be rude. I really am a big fan of Richard Dolan. I think Richard Dolan is one of the smartest historians in America. To me, he's not a UFO guy. He's a historian. You know who agrees with me on the assassination of John F. Kennedy? Richard Dolan.
Yeah.
Richard Dolan is one of the most prolific American history historians, period. And that's how I knew him. It wasn't until 2018 that I ever even saw him do anything on UFOs. And I'm like, oh, shit, this is the American history guy. And he does UFOs. I didn't know that.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So, I've got a phone call to Richard Dolan. I'm like, Richard, give me a call. I want you to interview me on this case because I think he's a smart man, but I don't know why he's MIA on this. Jeremy Corbell, I'll take his call if he calls me, whatever. But I don't think he's a big enough fish for this case. He's got his own thing with the Tic Tac and the gimbal and the whatnot and whatnot. Okay, he's busy, so maybe he's too busy. I get it. But there's other guys out there that I just don't know why they're not interested in this case. Certainly, I've proven it. Certainly, it's unrebutted. Like I said, the most severe criticism debunking I've got was Mick West, and he said could have been a raccoon. That's what he said. Could have been a raccoon. I don't know, Mick.
Well, I'll tell you, man.
I don't know Mick West. He's probably a nice guy. I have no idea. But hey, Mick, come on my show. Here's an invitation to Mick West. Mick, I officially invite you on the Crime Scene Time Machine to debunk my work. I'll even pay for your lunch. I'll give you a gift certificate to Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever. I don't care. But Mick West, I'm inviting you to come onto my show. I don't care when it is, in person, virtual, whatever. And if you don't come on my show, I'm just going to tell people you're a chicken.
Well,
so why don't you come on my show, Mick? Come on my show.
You heard it here first. The invitation is out. And before we go, Scott, because man, this has really been incredible. And I think hopefully for me, it's been worth the wait. And I hope it's been worth the wait for a lot of other people too, who have been asking, when are we going to do this? Because what we presented here today, what you presented here today has been remarkable. Honestly, nothing short of remarkable with some of these slides and the explanations you've been able to give. Just incredible stuff. But a couple of things I wanted to ask before we were done were kind of going back to the start of it, because I wrote down some notes here. We talk about the meteor, UFO, whatever we want to call it, the asteroid that's coming down, the light that was captured on the doorbell camera that was coming down that night, right? So call it whatever you want. It's a light that's coming down. The
UFO.
It's essentially what it is, right? I mean, in its purest form, it's an unidentified flying object. So,
or unidentified falling object.
That too, right? Yeah. That's probably a better way to put it. So, with that in mind, where's the sound? Was there any sound reported on impact when this thing came to the ground? Because it's falling.
No. That's why we have people investigating the deceleration. There was a mechanical sound of it coming down, but there was no impact of it hitting.
Right. And there's no crater that we know of, right?
No.
Like there was no visible crater that an asteroid or meteor would make upon impact.
No. Okay. But the police, and now there's some controversy over this particular piece of evidence, and I'm hesitant to even get into it because to me it's a straw man. There is, and my good friend, Ross Coulthart, I love him. He's one of my best friends.
I got to get him on the show, by the way. You got to
He's been on my show a few times. He still hasn't invited me on his show. I'm a little pissed off about that, but I think he big times me from time to time. He's a big shot, you know. I'm just a guy from Cleveland, but he pointed out, well, the police officer said to Angel, "Look at these. There's like a pattern on the ground that was like 20-foot diameter in the dirt, right?" But then somebody on the internet saw an aerial photograph from a long time ago that said there used to be a swimming pool there, and it could have been that, whatever. I think it's a straw man argument. I don't know, but here's what I tell you for sure. That body camera footage is the key, because the body camera footage is going to show some interesting things. And here's what it's going to show. It's going to show whether there's footprints in the dirt.
Right.
What kind of footprints? How big are these footprints? You know, it's going to show all kinds of things, and it's going to have a different light. It's going to have a different perspective. It's going to be from a body camera. And I actually have several body cameras because we analyze police body camera footage all the time as part of our job. When a police shooting is caught or some kind of a murder is caught on tape or something like that, we analyze the body camera footage, right? Because that's, you know, live footage, right? So it's going to be interesting. I think if we are successful in getting that body camera footage, it could I don't know what it's going to be crazy if we get it. We'll see. I don't want to put any expectation on it. I don't know if we're going to get it. We're trying to get it. I think we've lined up the pieces legally to get it. Now, just because we have the right to it doesn't mean that they will acknowledge our right to it, which means we would have to file a lawsuit, and then there would have to be litigation, which would cost money. And I'm not prepared to, you know, I'm not a wealthy guy. I'm just a guy, you know, I got my company, I do my business, but, you know, so we'll see what happens. But if we have to bring a lawsuit to try to get that footage, it's for the benefit of the American people. I feel this is a newsworthy story. News Nation did a great job covering it. Fox News Digital did a great job covering it. But where's the Washington Post? Why didn't they cover it? Where's CNN? Where's ABC, NBC? Where are they? This is an important story. It's not about me. This story is not about Scott Roeder. I just did the analysis. This story is about what happened in Las Vegas. I'm not the story. The story is about what happened in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm just here trying to get people to listen to the story.
Can you show slide 7.5 again real quick before we move?
I got to get out of the full screen here. Hold on.
Just to kind of,
slide 7?
Yeah, 7 and 5.
Okay, here we go.
And there's slide 7
right there.
Which is, again, the clear face of the what looks like an alien to me.
Yeah.
And slide 5 is kind of one that we had just discovered recently.
Yeah.
Which was
there we go, this guy.
Yeah, the one on the bottom with that big bulbous head and the small face. You can make out a face. It's just,
and there's more, Stephen. These are just the ones that I can personally verify.
Right.
But there's as many as I've shown you here. There's probably 100 more I could show you, but I personally didn't do the work on it.
Right.
I haven't had the time to verify it, but there's so much more. So much more.
What made it horrifying, if you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to answer if you don't like? Because that's something that stuck with me that you said that I can't help but to ask. And again, if you're uncomfortable with it, by all means, I can ask a different question.
I'm a Christian, and I believe in Jesus Christ. And some of these things that I saw made me feel really uncomfortable. And I'm not prepared to talk about how it made me feel. And I don't know what it is, but I think it might be related to something like that. But listen, I'm not here to talk about anything other than what I think I can prove. I don't think I can prove any of that. I don't think I want to know any more about that. I think I know enough about that. I'm not curious about that angle of the story. I'm staying away from that angle. If you want to talk to a priest or a pope or a rabbi or a bishop or whatever to talk about that, I'd say talk to them. But some of the things that I saw made me uncomfortable, had a physical effect on me, made me sick. And I'm not looking to get into that anymore.
Wow. It's kind of startling because when you put that together with, well, it's actually very startling when you put it together with the reports from the angel where they went back into the house and they started praying. And even when they said that they were kind of frozen in the backyard and they started praying and it became kind of like unfrozen.
Yeah.
Why is prayer working when it comes to this? You know,
I tell you what, I say prayer. I say prayer every once in a while to just remove in front of me the things that do not serve me to serve you better. And try to keep in front of me things that are good. Keep in front of me things that help other people, and keep in front of me things that keep me down a path that I can be proud of, and that's what I try to do.
Well, I think it's well said, and it's probably a good way to finish it off because, well, at least for this part, because I know we're going to be keeping up, Scott. You know, you mentioned Miami, you mentioned you're going out to Vegas, you're going to be talking to some pretty high profile people on this. You got the request out for the body cam footage, so there's more to go.
We put a challenge out to Mick West. Mick, give me a call, Mick. We're got a $100 gift certificate for you. Come on. And Richard Dolan, come on, Richard. I love you, man. You're a great historian. Why aren't you on this case?
It's incredible stuff, Scott, and I can't wait to catch up with you again as you continue to work on this. And thank you for coming on. This is kind of an exclusive. I know you've talked about it on your show, on your podcast.
Actually, this is the first time I'm releasing this to the public right here on your show. I have not released any of this yet. Matter of fact, I was going to do a podcast, but I think I'll just let this set for the record here. And if you're kind enough to give me this footage, I might throw out some of this stuff in some clips. I think I'll let this be me on the record on the subject, and you got it, and you're in control of it, and it's your exclusive, Stephen, just for you.
It's incredible. Thank you, Scott. And I appreciate you doing that on here, but I know we're putting this out for everybody. This is, for everyone to see. It's not mine. It's not yours. We want everybody to see.
I don't own this stuff, man. This should be in the public domain.
Right.
And you could be critical. Just don't come at me with raccoons, okay?
Right. Just unbelievable stuff,
Because
Scott.
if you come at me with a raccoon argument, I'm gonna have to make fun of you. I'm sorry.
That's fair. That's fair. Amazing. Again, amazing stuff. And again, thank you for doing it here,
My pleasure.
for showing it here on UAP, Scott. And we'll continue to be in touch. And I can't wait to see some of the reaction from this as we put this out there now for the first
I
time.
hope it's good, guys. Hey, my heart's in the right place. I'm not trying to be arrogant or egotistical. I really just want the story to be investigated. I'm just one guy. I can't do all of it. I think I can make a little bit of a wave, but we need everybody out there who's interested in this story to take a serious look and use your own talents, your own abilities to do this. And if I could just make a quick plug.
Yeah.
I have a new website called UFOtipline.com.
Good.
We are taking footage that is being submitted to me through my Gmail account, scottroder@gmail.com. If you have footage, send it to me, scottroder@gmail.com. And then we're going to be filtering that, what's real, what's not, putting it up on the UFO tip line, which is going to be like a YouTube page just for UFOs, videos that are verified. Okay. I'm going to verify that that it's not a hoax and it's not CGI. And once I do that, I'm going to put it up on the UFO tip line. So it'll be your resource for verified encounter videos. And then we're going to have that. So you don't have to scroll through TikTok, what's real, what's fake. Go to UFOtipline.com and then send me the video, scottroder@gmail. And then also check out my podcast. It's fun.
Yeah.
There's no advertisements. I don't charge. I don't ask for money. Crime Scene Time Machine on Spotify. Help me blow that up. It's a good show. I really put my heart into that show. And I don't get many listeners on it, probably because, I don't know, I'm not good with the algorithm or whatever. And then if you want to see this face, well, I don't know why you would, but if you do, you want to see some of my shows on YouTube, Scott Roeder on Crime Scene. If you're interested in hiring my services for forensic crime scene reconstruction, go to evidence-room.net, evidence-room.net. You'll also be seeing me on a bunch of television programs coming up soon that have nothing to do with UFOs, that have to do with my hard-hitting crime scene investigation work. And that's what I got to take for you. That's my promotion.
Outstanding. Good stuff, Scott. Thank you again so much. Scott Roeder, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only. We finally got to do it. I hope it was worth the wait. I think it was. Scott Roeder from the Evidence Room. Incredible stuff. Thanks, Scott. I look forward to catching up with you again.
Thanks, Steve. Me too, brother.